Divine greetings, Masters. Very good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. This is Madhu Soni, welcoming you all to Light and Soul Meditation English Group, Masters. Thank you for coming here and sharing your precious time, space, and energy with each other, Masters. So, as you all know, let us first give our gratitude, respects, and regards to the Masters, and then we will start the session. So, with divine gratitude, with great respects and regards to all the masters, to all the divine beings, to all the masters from all the realms who are connected with Most High, we are really grateful for all that you do, masters, for all the blessings, for all the grace, protection, guidance, and financial stability, great health that you give us, for all the resources. We are really grateful to all the masters from the spiritual realm, angelic realm, astral realm, masters who are the Param Guru Mandali masters, Saptarishi Mandal masters, the Siddhas, our ascended masters, and great Grandmaster Pitamaha Brahmrishi Patriji, Mahavtar Babaji, the sun, moon, constellations, divine feminine and masculine energies, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and Father Universe. Thank you so much, masters, for all the grace and all the resources and all the help, support, and safeguarding us. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the masters from all the kingdoms. We are really grateful for all that we are receiving, to all the elemental kingdom masters. Masters, we pray and ask to help us in the path of this life soul plan and the journey ahead in our lives. There's a new chapter that's coming, so please help us. And also, masters, help us connect with your consciousness, with the knowledge, wisdom, intellect that you got. May we also get the same to understand everything, your messages, your guidance. Please help us align with the soul plan purpose and also align us with the highest timeline that we have set for our incarnations. Thank you. Thank you so much, Masters. Thank you. So, Masters, with this, we are here on the day 2 of Buddha teachings. And thank you to all the Masters, to all the, you know, for all the time, space, energy that you share with us. So today it is day 2, and we are going to learn about the Four Noble Truths. And also we are going to learn about the Buddha way, the way to Buddhahood, and also, the Dharma and the Sangha. So, what is the right way to go ahead with the Buddhahood, the Dharmahood, and I would say the Sanghahood? So, it's all in the way they are the three jewels, right? The three jewels that are there with the Buddhist religion, what Buddhist people follow, and why do they follow. So we are going to discuss about all those things, and not only that, the Four Noble Truths. So I have, as you all know, in the Hindi group also I've shared the slides. Let me also share the slides, but today we are going to not go into too much detail, but just trying my level best to give you a small gist of what we are. Okay, let me, yeah. So these are the Four Noble Truths. 1 second. Okay, from here itself, no problem. What happened? Why it is like that? I don't know. Okay, slideshow. Yeah, okay. So, when we talk about the Four Noble Truths Masters, Buddha had, on Buddha Purnima, basically, as you all know, he took birth, and he later on, after getting married, after his son Rahul happened, he left the palace and then he went into, he wanted to know the truth. Why he feels, when he saw people in his outside his palace who were in pain, who were in trauma, who were poor, and who were very sickly. So his charioteer, Chandaka, told him that this is how life is. Everyone who takes birth has to go and they have to die. And again, the birth cycle, again, the rebirth again happens as souls. So when Buddha hears this, he starts like he wanted to know that, this is basically, he doesn't know many things, and he was in palace the whole time living a luxurious life. And because during that time when Yashodhara was pregnant with Rahul, that time she was not able to, I would say, not take care of Siddhartha that much because she was pregnant. And sometimes during pregnancy, women go into a lot of mood change, emotional changes, body changes. And that time, Yashodhara needed some, her alone time. And she wanted to be, taken care of because she was also a daughter's king. I mean, king's daughter. And she is also she had lived a luxurious life. Now she is married to King Shuddhodhan's son, Siddhartha. And Siddhartha was very much, I would say, let me stop here first and then. So Siddhartha was very much, a great master of everything. He had perfected all the skills and abilities that a king should have. He also had a lot of, how to, manage his kingdom. So abilities were very good. He had perfected a lot of things, but he was not perfect in the spiritual world, basically. He didn't knew what it was, why people are in pain, why he sees only. So when he was in the kingdom, he was only seeing everything good in front of him because that was put in front of him. But later on, as he went out for a, stroll on his chariot, so that when he saw people who were sick, he had this question. So at that time, his friend come charioteer, Chandaka, he said that this is how life is, and this is how people, they take, they go through life challenges, they take birth and then they die, and then again, after some time, the rebirth again happens. This cycle of life, this happens again. So hearing this, Buddha felt that he has to go and find the truth for himself. So that is how, when he went out, when he left, so at the time when Yashodhara was giving birth to Rahul, so we heard the story that she went into Lumbini garden. She was actually going into this palki, where actually the palki in English, I would say the palanquin. Okay, the palanquin. So in the palanquin, she was taken to this, she was going to her palace, going back. So on the way, she reached Lumbini One. Lumbini One meaning a Lumbini forest or jungle. And there was a beautiful place full of flowers and trees. And the tree name were sal trees, okay? So when she reached there, she felt that she has this delivery pains coming to her, and so she has to give her then and there. So what the ladies, the servants, I would say, the maids, or the friends of Yashodhara, they gathered and they took the sari all around, the cloth, they took around Yashodhara, and she stood there. And because the delivery pain was so uh, difficult at that time, she was in so much pain that she took hold of the sal tree branch. And as soon as she took hold, with that pressure, Rahul came out. So no, I think I'm telling the wrong story. Sorry about that. But anyway, let me. Okay, 1 second, 1 second, masters. 1 second, 1 second. It was about Siddhartha, I think. Yashodhara. Yashodhara. Or I was right. 1 second, masters. I'm sorry. Yeah, Siddhartha was born, that is Gautam Buddha was born in Lumbini, but not Rahul. Rahul was born in the palace. I'm so sorry. So at that time, when this happened, so Yashodhara gave birth, sorry, this um, mother of Siddhartha gave birth to Siddhartha at that time. But later on, when Siddhartha got married to Yashodhara, at that time, he was only 16 years old. Okay. And later on, after, like, basically, when they got to 29 years old, that time, Rahul was born. So I'm sorry about the story. I'm so sorry. So Nirja ji wanted to say something, but let's get back to it later. So what happened was, at that time, Yashodhara, when she was giving birth to Rahul in the palace, that time Gautam Buddha came out from the palace and he ventured without saying to Chandaka. So after a while, he also left the horse, also the chariot also. And then he said, then don't, follow me. I need to go alone. I need to do the penance. I need to find the truth. So Chandaka was there, and then he also found some five more Aztecs that they were there. So the four noble truths that he got was, the first one was that the truth is that everyone goes through the suffering. Everyone goes through the suffering. In everyone's life, there is pain, there is sorrow, but also good things happening. Not only good, but bad also. But if there are positives, there are negatives also. And everyone goes through those suffering. That is the truth. So this is where I have prepared the slide masters. 1 second. Navinji must be thinking, what is madam saying today? She's out of sorts today. I'm so sorry. I was in the temple, so everything washed out. So that's why sometimes you need that practice. I'm so sorry. I know the story, but sometimes I mess up. No, not sometimes. It was very rare today. So anyway, here it is, masters. So these are the four noble truths, and this is where we are going to learn. So in Hindi, we do say the Char Arya Satya, the four noble truths. So he is giving a lot of sermons, lot of teachings to all the Aztecs besides him. And basically, this is also, you can find this in the Lotus Sutra. When we talk about Lotus Sutra is also known as Lotus Sutta. So for the Sutta, we actually put the name Sutra there, right? So this is also the heart of Buddhism, where the main content is this is the main content, basically the heart of Buddhism, where you actually find out that the truths of your life, these are the four noble truths, and the root of all is the suffering, is attachment. So whatever suffering we do have, it is because of certain kinds of attachments. It can be attachments to, you know, richness, wealth, attachment to people, attachment to desires, attachment to addictions, some kind of addictions, attachments to many other things. And that is the root of all suffering. So attachment is the root of all suffering. So the four noble truths is, first is the truth. What is the truth? Dukkha. Dukkha meaning sorrow, right? Or you feel sadness. The dukh, the sadness. All beings experience suffering during their lifetime. That is the first truth. The second truth was the cause. So what is the cause of this truth? What is the cause of this dukkha? So samudaya, they say it as samudaya, meaning the cause of suffering is craving and fundamental ignorance. So fundamental matlab, fundamental meaning that it is the basis of suffering. The ignorance is the basis of that suffering. You crave something. Why you crave it is because you don't know certain things about it. And certain times we have this greed, we have this desire, or some kind of desire of lust, desire of food, desire of wealth, desire of so and so things, right? So the cause of the suffering is craving, and that is a fundamental. And there is this delusion also. Sometimes we get into confusion, we get into fundamental ignorance. Basically we get into ignorance, illusion, and that is the basis of the dukkha, the cause, right? So first is that everyone goes through suffering. Second is that there is the cause is that we desire something. The third is the cure, that is nirodha. When you cure your suffering, how will you cure the suffering? So the cessation of dukkha comes with the cessation of craving. So when you stop this craving, then the pain, the sorrow, the suffering also stops. So when you stop your craving, or when you control that part, that is your desire, that is your craving or illusion, what happens? You find that you have a cure for your disease, and that is the so disease. What kind of disease? It's your desire that creates all kinds of problems, sufferings, pain, trauma. And then the fourth one is the path. The path is the magga. Magga meaning marg. So the path is where we need to follow this eightfold path, the noble eightfold path that comes after the four noble truths. Okay, so these four noble truths also involves the eightfold, sorry, noble eightfold path. Okay, so that is also known as the Ashtangic Marg or the Ashtanga Marg. And this is the fourth part where this actually helps to end the pain and suffering. Okay. So at this time, we have this 14th incarnation of Dalai Lama, basically. His name is Tenzin Gyatso. And His Holiness, the 14th reincarnation, basically, his name is, and he is this Dalai Lama, the smaller, basically, the childhood picture is this on the right side. He's the spiritual leader of Tibet, and he was born on 6th July. So remember the date, masters, 6th of July, 1935, to a farming family in a small hamlet located in Taksar, Amdo, and it is in northeastern Tibet. So Dalai Lama's wisdom is when he was asked, when he was just a 2.5-year-old boy, he had been asked, and he was recognized as the 14th reincarnation of Buddha of compassion. So in Hindi, we do say Karuna for compassion. Okay. So he was the 14th reincarnation of Gautam Buddha. And he was said to be destined to become the spiritual and political leader of his people. So he was asked about the causes of suffering. So how he responded was that I need to squeeze my brain. So when I need to squeeze my brain, or when I squeeze my brain, what is that first thing that we need to understand? That this brain causes much of this suffering. The brain thinks so much. We think so and so things, and that is the cause of suffering, which is very needless. And then second, he says that we should look at the reasons in our own life. What is the cause of that dukkha? What is the cause? To look is to have confidence. And he also says, when you look, you have a confidence in your own self that I have the ability to end my suffering. Sometimes we get actually this confusion that from where this problem came, why this is happening to me, and because of the ignorance we cannot find the marg or the path. But he says that he looks for the reasons for this in his own life. So at that small tender age, he knew that the suffering that is being given to him, or it's going on with him, he has the knowledge of finding that pain and suffering within himself. He has this ability to end the suffering, and he is very confident about it. So if one is able to find this end of suffering within your own self, you are a confident person. You become more confident because you now know the ability how to end the suffering. Third and the final is that I wish arises to find a path to peace. And then lastly, he says that he wishes to find this path to peace where all beings desire happiness. So he also knows, and we also know, that who doesn't want happiness? Everyone wants to be happy, and all wish to find their purer selves. So, what is our purer self? The purer self will be when we are able to know the cause of that dukkha and able to cure the dukkha, and then follow the noble eightfold path. Then the inner self, or this body, will become nirvanic, will become enlightened. We will actually perfect ourselves, and we will reach that samadhi state. We will become one with everything, and that is called the Samyak Sambodhi. So now these are the first noble truth. The first noble truth is the three fires. So what are the three fires, masters? In the right hand side, I have also put the Hindi version of it, masters, for people if they want to. So the three fires, the poisons that can come in the come as an obstacle, that can happen, and that happens basically. The first noble truth is that you all might be having greed, hatred, delusion, and these are the cause of your pain. The first noble truth. What is the cause of dukkha? The cause of dukkha is your greed, your hatred, your delusion. What is your greed? Greed is craving, desire, thirst. And how you can cure that? So now it comes is how to cure, right? So what you can do, if you have greed of some kind, you can become generous. You can give monetary help to people who need help. basically the poor, the sick. You can be generous with your time, with your money, with your energy, with your body, with food, generous, basically donating your time, energy, food, and space. Then the second one is hatred. Why do you feel hatred towards someone? Because the point is you see something in them that actually hurts you, or that is very different. You feel that they are very different from you and you don't like that. But the point is that hate all comes because you see something in them that you also have. So we become averted with from them. Aversion comes. We become more aggressive when somebody does not follow anything. We hate them. We try to control them. The point is we have to show how to cure it is to be, in that, showing them the friendliness, loving them. So that is called metta. Metta meaning mitra. Mitra meaning friend. So in Hindi, we say, when we call a friend, in Hindi, the meaning of that is mitra, that he is my friend, he is my mitra. Okay. So that's why in Buddhist language, they say metta, mitta. And then compassion, karuna, right? In Hindi, we say karuna. So that is compassion. You have to be compassionate towards someone who portrays this kind of behavior, whom you don't like. But the point is, why you don't like is because you also have those same kind of gestures, behaviors, abilities, just like that person. Because, you have to understand that everyone's soul's journey, plans is very, very different, and they will come to the point where you are now. So you have to be compassionate and understand that. Delusion, when you don't know something, we actually create so many things in our mind. And sometimes we assume things. The confusion comes because we are assuming things. So how to cure that? You have to cure that with the help of wisdom by learning any, whatever you don't know, wherever your weakness is, you have to learn. You have to learn and grow. You have to find that particular wisdom and learn that, so that you become enlightened, you become wisdomful. And that is called prajna in Hindi or Sanskrit. And enlightenment is the English form. So the five aggregates is basically the things that come into contact. Why we get this dukkha or the suffering is because we see things from our physical body. And in this physical body, we are associated with five senses. That is the eye, ear, nose, throat, and hand, right? So these are the five senses that actually help, basically puts us into this craving, desire kind of situation. Because the eyes see, we crave, we desire something. And we also hate because we perceive things with those same eyes, with our own understanding, with the confusion or illusion. And these are the five senses that actually puts us into this situation, which are also the cause of suffering. The feelings, the emotions, the pleasant, unpleasant that we feel. It can be through your nose, eyes, throat, sometimes with your mouth. The point is, the senses actually puts us into suffering mode, moreover. So as you go and start ascending, the first few things are also you have to let go of your sensory, powers also, so that you become one with everything. Then your perception, what you are perceiving, how you form any situation with your mental ability. So mental formations, what do you form, what do you assume, why do you assume, what is the perception that makes you form those mental formations? Then what kind of response you give it to particular situations because of your consciousness. If it is still not far, basically you have to work on your consciousness. You have to know that every now and then you will actually increase your consciousness. You were a child, but now you're not a child anymore. Now you're learning. And when you learn, basically what happens? You have grown from kindergarten to 12th grade, and from 12th grade to college, and then college to masters, BSc, or bachelor's when you have done, or when you went into masters. Are you the same person in, like, when you were a child? No, you are not the same child anymore. You are a mature. Now you have become old also. But the point is, age wise we have become old, but mental, we have gained a lot of wisdom, lot of consciousness, lot of understanding has come. But because of illusion, because of assumptions or perceptions, the response that or the reaction that we give is because we still haven't learned certain things. So the response will be according to whatever our consciousness is holding. So these are also the three fires or the poisons, you can say, that involves the truth of dukkha. So Buddha described this aspect of dukkha by the very choice of term du. So when you break down this word, masters, dukkha is du is bad, basically negative, the lower vibrational side, and ka is basically the wheel, the cycle or the wheel that goes on. So this bad wheel is basically the essence of dukkha. That is the reason why many things that happen in our lives is because of this repeated cycle that we go through. Because we are portraying this time and again, we haven't understood why this is happening, why the matter body with the senses is, what it is providing us, what kind of perception we have, what kind of illusion we have, what kind of consciousness we have. And that is the reason of suffering. So life is suffering, he says. Not exactly also, life is suffering, not exactly, because life contains good and bad moments, both of the moments. Okay. So, and these many moments are basically inflicted upon us by our own self. We self-inflict those, and we misunderstand it, misapprehend it, and we assume in a wrong way. And whatever the reality is, it's very different from that. So, these are the two books, masters. This is the one book that I also have. So, Buddhism 101, I have this if you want to see. This is by Arni Kozak. Okay. So, this is very good book if you want to read, if anyone needs to. And the other one is from this is basically the Dalai Lama has written, the Buddha Heart and Buddha Mind. So, you can also living the Four Noble Truth. So, this is, yeah, His Holiness Dalai Lama has written it. Okay. The 14th reincarnation that we saw. So Buddha is speaking about the Four Noble Truths and the importance of mindfulness. So he says that the true way to realize your own self is to basically, when you realize your own self, when you understand that the pain and suffering that you have is because of your own self, and when you purify these things. So this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surrounding of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of nirvana. So basically, when you become mindful, when you become aware, when you get more clarity, what happens? You know that the truth is that you are suffering. Why? Because of your own self. It is self-inflicted. And then you have the power to remove the suffering. And when you know the cause, you can remove the cause. You become more confident, and then you become self-realized. And that is the true way to nirvana. So that is what he says. So these are some of the pictures if you would like to, where Buddha is actually teaching everyone, giving sermon to everyone. And then he says, the second noble truth is that you are basically, what is the cause? Now you go inwards and you start finding what is the cause. You start knowing, when you have this ability to know that the dukkha or the pain that you are having or suffering that you are having is because of your own doing or because of the senses that you have. So thirst for sensual pleasure is the first one. Second one is the thirst for existence. And third one is the thirst for non-existence. So he says the source of desire, it comes from the sensation. Basically, whatever we see, whatever we touch, whatever we inhale, whatever we hear, whatever we perceive, the source of a desire is that we had come into contact with something that gives the rise to the sensation cycle, where the suffering starts happening. Whatever we see, we want to have it. And that is the feeling that we desire certain things. When we cannot get it, or when we need to work towards it to fulfill that desire, the point is we suffer. We suffer and then we become attached. So then also comes the second point, basically, that, we start becoming more desirous towards material objects. We start becoming more desirous, or we suffer because of some lust or sensual and sexual pleasures. And not only that, but many other things, because we are also attached. So now we also suffer because we want to exist. The point is, we are not the body, but a soul. That is what we also need to understand, that the soul continuously journeys ahead, but the body has to go, body has to be vacated, because this is just like a cloth. And then the second point is that our mind actually clouds our, basically the clouding the truth is the mind thinks so many things, right? So that actually clouds our ability to think straight. Then we become more desirous, and we think of that we need this, we need that, we crave so much. And the mind can think of anything. It can think negative, it can think positive. The point is we go towards the negative side more, and that is the reason for our dukkha, and that is the cause. So the causes are these. First is the thirst for sensual pleasure. Second is the thirst for existence. And then again you suffer that, you think that you are non-existent, you are nowhere, and you want to get liberated, right? You don't want to exist here. And then the point is you cannot liberate yourself. You again come into this world cycle, and this cycle repeats. This is the endless cycle of, the life, the journey. So teaching of Buddha is like a great cloud. The Buddha says, Dalai Lama, the teaching of Buddha is like a great cloud with which a single kind of rain waters all human flowers so that each bear its fruit. So teaching of Buddha basically is like a great cloud where the rain, basically, the wisdom is like that rain. It waters everyone. And it depends on human beings how they understand it. And everyone has a different kind of thinking. They will think in a different way, and they will flower differently, right? So having their own fruits. So Lotus Sutra 5. And some people do see different kinds of fruit, but and they like different kinds of fruit. We are all different. So the way we think is also very different. And that is why we will bear our own fruit. Whatever work we have done, whatever action we have taken, we will bear the fruit of that same action, right? So that is written in Lotus Sutra 5. And in Lotus Sutra 5 is, those who have not yet crossed over, I will cause to cross over. Those not yet freed, I will free. Those not yet at rest, I will put to rest. Those not yet in nirvana, I will cause to attain nirvana. So Buddha teaches us to go into Buddhahood. Buddha gives us a lot of wisdom. The name Buddha actually also stands for wisdom. In Hindi, we do say Buddha, Buddhi, meaning wisdom, intellect, right? So this is what he says, that I will help you attain nirvana. I will help you cross over. I will help you to get free from this cycle. And if you are not at rest, not at peace, I will put you at rest. I will give you that peace. But you have to follow this eightfold path. You have to understand the Four Noble Truths. So thus come, one is the king uh, of all the dharmas. Nothing that he teaches is false. So this is being said about the Buddha. So he extensively proclaims all dharmas by means of wisdom and expedients. Basically, he says that all dharma are equal. We should not be partial towards one dharma, but we should respect everyone's dharma. So my dharma is to here come and open the channel and start giving meditation classes, or let us bring something together. This is my purpose. This is my dharma, my responsibility. What is your dharma? What is your responsibility? So everyone has their own plans. Everyone has their own dharma, and we should respect everyone's dharmas. So it is not about a particular religion or caste, culture, and dharma, or Hindu dharma, Sikh dharma, or Isai dharma, or Christianity, or Muslim. Nothing. It is or Hindu. No, it is about one's dharma, the way one does things and follows his own ritual, follows his own thing. So this is basically telling you about the dharma that you need to follow. What is your dharma? My dharma is to be truthful. My dharma is to be kind to everyone. My dharma is to be compassionate. My dharma is to be loving. And that is what I am doing right now. Whatever I feel responsible towards, I am taking care of all those things. And there are many more things, but see, this is what my dharma is. What is your dharma? So that is what is very important. So the desire actually keeps us in pain. Now, the third noble truth is that as you release, when you start understanding that the truth is to stop this dukkha, you need the cure. The cure is that you can stop this pain, the suffering. You can you have this, like, suppose for example, there are so many diseases. Some diseases does not come with cure, right? Like for example, there is medicines, or for cancer there is chemotherapy or some kind of different medication, but most of all it is chemotherapy for cancer. For diabetes, it is metformin tablets are there that are given to them, right? Not only that, but different other things. Their body becomes more weak from time to time. The blood does not reach to the extremities, and their feet becomes numb. So many things are there, but certain diseases comes with cure. But when you actually sway away, basically, when you go to, you are totally 360-degree away from your purpose, plan, you get into cancer. Okay, masters, really, this is like spiritual learning, I'm telling you. When you get away from your soul plan and purpose, you actually go into diseases. Body tells you or puts you into a disease where you actually go into a lot of challenges. Once you get hold of what your soul plan is, once you get away from the wrong path, when you come on the right path, your diseases also go away. So I will tell you about this disease part later on. But here, the what are the three fires? The three fires are the kleshas, the greed, hatred, and delusion. And these are basically what you do. When you know this, you actually can release this. So releasing is the part where you are actually cooling yourself by blowing. So blowing out. That is how nirvana also is. Very similar to that is nirvana. When you understand that this is the cause, the craving, the desire, illusion, greed, hatred, this is making me suffer more. And when you control this, right? When you have the power to understand how to control it, because you are craving something, so that is why you are suffering, right? So when you are letting go of that craving with desire, or you are letting go of that addiction, lust, or some kind of habit, what happens? Or when you learn some lessons, you understand something, what is happening? You're again curing yourself, right? So that is actually taking you to withdraw from things, withdraw from bad habits, withdraw from lust, or sometimes people do have greed. When you control that greed, when you become generous, when you start donating, what happens? You start withdrawing from all those greedy behaviors. You start renouncing things. You start detaching from things. You reject certain things. Homaji, your this is coming line. You are making line here. Uh, okay, okay. So now, when we talk about, okay, let me stop share once. So far, so good, masters. Till now, we are only going to do one more, and then we'll be done with the Four Noble Truths. So, okay, 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. So that is what Buddha says, that when you start controlling this desire, or when you start controlling your behaviors as hatred, when you don't hate anyone, when you start accepting everyone, when you start detaching yourself from things that were putting you in suffering, you attain nirvana. When you have realized that this is what is happening with you, you reach that state of self-realization and you attain nirvana. You become nirvanic, meaning you blow out all the problems, you cool yourself down, because these fires are basically putting you in heat, right? Putting you in problems, challenges. And cooling is basically just you become more peaceful, more relaxing, right? So this is basically prognosis that you found. You researched and you found that the cause of suffering is your craving, is your hatred, is your delusion. And when you got the cure, you start controlling, renouncing, withdrawing, and rejecting things. You become liberated. You liberate yourself. And how do you do that? You can realize it very easily through meditation. And as you go into meditation, you understand your own nature, that the nature changes. Your own nature will change. How you were earlier before meditation and how you were when you started practicing meditation. So you can automatically understand how you were as well, right? So seeing the three marks. So see these three marks in your life and don't get fooled. So when you go and you want to find liberation, when you want to go into nirvana, when you want to become self-realized, or when you want to attain nirvana, you will be put to test, masters. You will be given test of lust, greed, hatred, delusion. And you need to know these three fires, that these are the three fires that can actually make us suffer. At that time, we might not understand this, but that is the cause of dukkha. This is the third noble truth, that the truth of cessation of dukkha is also the cessation of any suffering. It can helps us. It can help us and put us into nirvana. So according to this Buddhist scholar, Todd Lewis, he says nirvana is eternal, tranquil, pure, and deathless, and the only permanent reality in the cosmos. So this is permanent reality in the cosmos, that you become one with everything, and you know that the body, this physical body, is just like a clothing. This will die, it will go away, but the soul always is eternal. It will continue journey ahead. So Nagarjuna, the 2nd century philosopher and second most influential person in the history of Buddhism after Buddha. So he was after Buddha. He's also counted as the 2nd century philosopher and the most influential person. So he was also a Buddha, I would say, because he attained that nirvana, or he became enlightened. So he said there is not the nearest difference between samsara, so nirvana and sansara, nirvana and this worldly life. There is no similarity, no near, basically, nirvana is beyond all conditions, he says, beyond all categories, and cannot be grasped by conceptual mind. So if you have a concept towards it, it cannot be grasped. It goes beyond intellect and must be experienced for yourself to be understood. So when you understand these three kleshas, that is the three fires, greed, hatred, and delusion, and you know how to cure it, you can experience nirvana. You can become self-realized. When you become self-realized, what do? You start seeing everything as an observer, right? You become aware of everything. So Buddha advocated these 7 factors of awakening. What are the 7 factors? To be mindful, to be discerned, have discernment towards certain things, good or bad, right? Then persistence. Whenever you work for something, you need to be persistent towards it. Your practice, your persistence can actually take you to more awakening. You can get awakening very quickly. Then the rapture comes, where you start understanding. You go into the dark night of the soul. You understand a lot of things. Then serenity comes, peace, calm. You become more serene, more loving. Concentration also increases. Then equanimity. You understand that not only me, but everyone else is of. You are not partial towards anyone. You understand that I should not hate anyone. You understand that they are just like me. They are my own part. And that is where you actually understand. You start perfecting yourself. And that is what it means, that you are self-realized. And that is where you get ultimate realization, which is known as Samyak Sambodhi, meaning the right way to become enlightened. You perfect that, basically. You complete that stage of enlightenment. And this is called as Samyak Sambodhi, masters. So advanced meditation basically can provide. What is advanced meditation, masters? Advanced meditation is where you start practicing more meditation. You sit for longer hours, or you sit in a way where you go straight into, you don't desire anything during meditation. Nothing comes to your mind. You become one with everything, and you go into the zero state, where you don't need anything, you don't want anything, you are in that bliss state. So even that bliss also goes away. Now you don't even, you just are aware of that. Yes, you are sitting in meditation, but at that time you just want to go and become one with the divine. And that is the state where you understand that I am a part of the divine. I am this divine. And when you become this divine, you attain this realization, you attain nirvana, and this is the place where you have perfected. So every now and then we say now that remember this situation where you are in the depth of meditation. This depth, always remember. So whenever you sit into meditation, remember that state where you were in that depth, and then recall that and go into that deep state very quickly. And that is where you have perfected the enlightenment, complete enlightenment. You perfected. Why? Because you understood that this is how I need to let go of my body, let go of my senses, let go of my extrasensory perception, and let go of all attachments from worldly things, people, situation, events, and then I have to become one, let go of even the logical mind, and then become one with everything. And you start detaching. That is where this point comes. Samyak Sambodhi, meaning you are now becoming more and more enlightened, becoming more and more self-realized, and that is basically you have perfected it. This is a state of Samyak Sambodhi. So you understand that this nirvana or the Samyak Sambodhi is where you cannot say that how beautiful is that bliss. You cannot measure this bliss. You cannot say when somebody says that, oh, I felt a beautiful kind of bliss. What kind of bliss? How could you measure that bliss? You cannot, right? So anyway, so these are the four noble truths. The last one is this one. So where the noble eightfold path comes handy, masters. So it has been divided into three parts. First one is wisdom, second one is morality, and third one is meditation, that is samadhi. So first one is wisdom and insight, meaning prajna, the right view to see things, right view to resolve things. Okay, the resolve, how are you going to see things, how you're going to take care of things, what is your right view, and then what is your viewpoint, what is your perception towards it. Then now morality, so basically it is called a sila, sheel in Hindi. Morality is, as you know, to portray this normal behavior, moral behavior, the right kind of speech. So whenever you speak in a right manner, in a good manner, positive manner, then take proper action, the right action, no partial action, okay? And also right livelihood. So whenever you start earning, earn with the rightful means, not with the wrong means. Then the third is meditation, samadhi. So when you do meditation, put your right effort, basically, put the right kind of effort. Create time for it, sit for more time, be determined, be persistent, practice enough. Then right mindfulness. So where? So don't always think that I am mindful and whatever I am thinking is correct. You need to know where you are going wrong. You have to be mindful where you need to put your energy, where you need that clarity, how much you need to give energy. So mindful, do you need to be there? Why you need to be there? Is there any reason for you to be there? Do you need to help anybody? Why you need to help anybody? Do they need you? Something, right? All those things, questions. So the right effort is very important, right mindfulness, and then right concentration. Sometimes we cannot concentrate on good things, right? Bad things also come. So really, do you want to concentrate on the negative sides of things or the right view, basically? So sometimes we need to change our perception to good things. So Buddhism is basically a religion, but they actually believe in action. Okay, so rather than just reading it through, we have to apply, and that is what is Buddhism all about, as it is reflected in the metaphor of Buddha used of the man shot by an arrow. So there's an example here where so this is the life's wheel. In this life wheel, these are the eightfold path, the eight path: right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right living, right effort, right attentiveness, and right concentration. So these are actually combined into these 3 points: wisdom, morality, and meditation. And the story is that there was a man that was shot by an arrow. And so what are we going to do as a human being? What are we going to do? Are we going to at that time, that man who was shot by arrow, what are we going to do? Are we going to wait and see at what angle the arrow was came and hit that man, or with what material it was made? Or are we going to find the cure for that, basically, that this man that is being shot by arrow, we need to help this person, right? We need to take that arrow out first, right? So that human being can be cured. So that is the right way to think, right way of doing things. We should not go into arguments or go into how it was done and who did it and all those questions. We need to get medical help. So Buddha Ghosha, basically the 5th century teacher, so he says the healing dharma found through meditation, not so the dharma is to basically we need to find the healing, right? So it cannot come through meditation at that time. We need to understand, we need to speculate on it. So 5th century teacher Buddha Ghosha calls morality and meditation are the 2 pillars on which wisdom leads to liberation, right? They stand on this 2 legs called morality and meditation. So the 2 legs upon which wisdom leading to liberation. So wisdom stands on these 2 legs of or pillars of morality and meditation that leads to liberation. So when you become moral, basically portray moral values, do things in a moral way, and you meditate, when you work on it, when you practice, when you be persistent, when you control all those things, you cure all your bad habits with wisdom, that can actually take you to liberation. That is what it means. So morality is the foundation for meditation, and meditation is the foundation for wisdom. So if these three go hand in hand, masters, okay, and they promote uh liberation. But when you do this excessively, basically what happens if you take in sensual pleasure excessively, what happens? You start denying your own self, you start taking a different path, right? So they teach that you have to take the middle path, the middle way. Don't go into the extremes of good or bad. Take the middle path, okay, the middle mark, and that is what they preach. So the eightfold path is the way where you will actually find liberation and the roadmap of Buddhist living. So these are the three sections that contain the eight hand. They are folded into one another as a field manual, and this is the two path of the mark, okay. And this is how I will share this in the English group, how every arrows take you from the task to recognize it and then encourage it. What do you encourage, and then how do you realize yourself? So these are the things, masters. And then comes the Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. So as we talk about the Buddha life, Buddhahood, the way of Buddha, living like the way to live like Buddha, or the way to follow the dharma, as I have already explained to you. And then what is the Sangha? So let me come back here, masters. So when we talk about this, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. So this is the mantra when many Buddhist masters, they chant this. So they say Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, and Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. So Buddha meaning living the Buddha way, to understand, becoming more enlightened, using the wisdom, okay, becoming intelligent by learning things. Wherever you are weak, wherever you need that controlling, you need to control, you need to understand your suffering, why that suffering is coming to you, and living that, becoming more intelligent, getting more wisdom, increasing your consciousness through the right efforts of meditation, becoming more mindful. And then the second one is the dharma. What is your dharma? As I told you, my dharma is different from Naveenji's dharma. Naveenji's dharma must be different. Same way, Sunalji's dharma or Hilary's dharma must be different. So, according to Buddha, and in this Buddhist religion, they say that don't. Uh, so there are 5 precepts also, masters. The 5 precepts are that don't steal anybody's treasure. So whatever you have is yours, but whatever the other has, that is not yours. So don't steal from them. So many other things are there. Let me also tell you. The point is, there are many things. So there are 5 precepts or the Panchashil. So this is the second point itself. Let me share this so that 1 second. And that is the last, masters. Okay, here it is. So they say that no killing, no stealing, and no sexual abuse, no dishonesty, no alcohol and drugs. So meaning no stealing, no killing, no sexual abuse, and no dishonesty, not lying, no deceit, no sexually abusing anyone, not stealing from anyone, and no basically becoming if you are becoming violent, you're killing someone, that is not called for. So no killing is required, no stealing, eating. Basically, some people do also eat non-vegetarian food. So during this Vesak month, some Buddhists, they let go of eating non-vegetarian food also. Some Buddhists, they don't eat, right? Some people who follow Buddhist religion, they do eat. But the Buddhist people who are actually Buddha or they attain Buddhahood, they don't, okay? So no stealing, and then no sexual abuse and no dishonesty. And that is the Buddha way of living. No alcohol and drugs. So What are your habits, masters? That is very important. So this is what it is. And then he says Sangha. What is Sangha? So I would like to tell you a story of Ashoka. When Ashoka got married, he actually had children from, I think he got married to, right now I don't remember the lady's name, but he actually got his daughter was Sanghamitra and Mahinda. So one son, one daughter, Mahinda and Sanghamitra. So Sanghamitra, actually this name is been given after they followed Buddhist religion. Sangha Mitra meaning the friend of that Sangha, the friend of that group. So her name, the person who came from Ashoka's empire, the daughter who came, she came to the Buddhist monastery and she was called Sanghamitra, Sanghamitta, meaning that she was the friend of the Buddhist and she became the Mitra, the friend of the Buddhist religion, the Buddhist people. That's why her name was Sanghamitra. So my experience with Sanghamitra is that when I was in the 2 years back, I was going to give some session on Buddha and the disciples. This past life experience came to me that I am a Lama wearing satin robes, yellow colored robes, and the Sanghamitra comes to me in the monastery, and I'm there on the like near the gate, and somebody comes and tells me that Sanghamitra has come. Your friend has come to meet you. So I go and see, and there's the black gates are there with black wrought iron gates. And I go there and I see Sanghamitra in pastel, how to say, green pastels, I would say that color. It's very bland, very like dull green, okay, dull green. And she is on the slippers, the block heel kind of slipper, the slippers that we wear with the V-shape kind of thing on the toe. That was in a this big block of slipper, very platform kind of feel, okay, very simple. And she had braided her hair very simply behind, and she comes to me, and then I go and oh, who comes? Oh, my friend, I say, literally I said, oh, you are my friend, Sanghamita, I am saying. So that was my past life experience that came to me. And I'm seeing with those eyes. So I know that this is I have been that. So why I was wearing a satin robe? Because I was into a royal uh, stature or something. I don't know what I was, but I was some from that background maybe. The point is that so they have spread Buddhist religion everywhere. So that is the Sangha way of living. When you come together with everyone, it becomes easy for you to follow the Dharma, follow Buddhahood. You become more determined, you practice more. And when you come with your like-minded people, it becomes easy for you. So that is the Buddhist way of living, is to go into Buddhahood with wisdom, prajna, become enlightened, let go of your negative habits, lower vibrational habits, and then attain nirvana through liberation, and then follow your dharma. What is your dharma? So your dharma can be different from different person. And then the third one is become a friend of the sangha. Basically, when you come together and come together with everyone, you form a sangha, you form a group, and that is what is called the way of living. So thank you so much, masters. I'll now take my pause. Anyone wishes to share or want to ask anything, you can. Otherwise, we can go straight into meditation. I know I took a lot of time today, but it called for. So thank you so much, Naveen ji. Thank you, everyone. Sheelam ji. Yeah.
Atmavandan,
Atmandan.
Madhu, and everyone. It was a beautiful session. I just want to ask, our group of is called Sanghamitra because we are a group attached and we are friends.
Yes. So this is Light and Soul Meditation Group. You can say Light and Soul Sanghamita. Yeah, or Light and Soul Dhyana Sangha, right? So we are all Sanghamita to each other. Thank you so much. Yes, and yes, thank you for reminding me. Happy Mother's Day, Masters. I totally forgot. For US people, it is still Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to you, each and every one, men, women, boy, girl, whoever it is. Happy Mother's Day, because we have come from our mothers and proud to be children of our mothers, right? I would say. And then later on, we became mothers. Yeah. And fathers. Yeah. Anything else, Sheelam ji? All good? Okay.
No, it was very enlightening.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So as you go and, well, I'll say that later. But yeah, so that is how, yeah, being fond of Sanghamitra. Yes, because I think there's someone named Sanghamitra in your family, right? Pushpa ji and Neena ji. Yeah.
Thank you, Madhuji, for
Thank you.
another
Neena ji.
wonderful session. Madhuji,
Yeah.
it is little bit off topic. Like this morning, I attended session also.
Uh-huh.
Abhimanyu ji was presenting. I
Uh-huh.
had one question I couldn't ask in the morning, but if you can clarify, Abhimanyu ji gave example of timeless concept, and you also explained, uh, but I did not get it. Like
What was the words like he said?
uh, it
It can
was like he went to some Mahatma and they told him not to say uh, greet him or
pranam.
pranam, right? Yeah. So and then it was done later on. I didn't understand why it
Because
was done later.
I heard the half part only, so I can't answer this
Oh,
because
okay.
it was his whole story, and
Okay,
somebody
okay.
actually had called me at that time, so I was just trying to, put the phone down and the
Okay.
yeah. But I think he meant as if he's here, if he wishes to. I'm not sure if he's, because he might be in the school assembly at this time, but maybe he must have, because sometimes what happens is this is what, just try to understand the way I'm putting it is, for example, somebody tells me their story. This happens with
Mm-hmm.
me. That somebody tells, they come and tell me that this was happening, Madhuji, I got this experience. So with open eyes, when I start, what happens when somebody tells a story? What happens to us? We start imagining things, and not only imagining, we start living that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody actually, when you come and tell me something in the middle of it, I'm actually going through something in my mind. I'm actually in that world at that time. When somebody is telling me about their experiences, I'm in that world, right? Suppose you said, Madhuji, I was going to the office and I saw this and that, and this was happening with me. I saw this at this time. As you were speaking, my way of experiencing things started with open eyes only. Some people, they need to close eyes and they go astrally. They start visualizing that. But I can do that by sitting here only, and I can start looking into it basically with open eyes. I don't need to close. And at that time, if somebody comes and interferes in the sense like, hello Madhuji, how are you? So my chain of thoughts would break.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay? Because I'm in that time. I'm present here, but I'm in that time mentally. Astrally, like with one of my body, I'm still there. So one day, now coming back to another example, at the same time. So what
Mm-hmm.
happened was, I was giving meditation class to the whole group in the Hindi session. So that day, one of our master, Tripta Bhanot ji, she was present. Okay. So what happened when I was giving meditation, she slept at that time. Okay. So, and then meditation ended. So at that same time, I started thinking today she did not, just it came to me that maybe she might be little tired because she is changing her home, and she did not, open the video. Maybe she slept or something. And my whole mind, my whole thought was into her. And I was sitting here, right? I was sitting here and I was just working on something, I ended the session. But because at that same moment, I was thinking about her, the next day she called me. Basically, she called me and told me, Madhuji, you know what happened with me? So I said, yes, tell me what happened. And she says that, I slept after you gave meditation and was so sleepy that I could not open my eyes. So I slept. And at that same time, some loud noise happened in my home. And I was so scared. But at that time, when that noisy thing was there, you came in with that payal, chum, chum, chum. And I was there. I mostly I find people telling me this most of the time. I have noticed when they get scared, I am there to help them out, to support them, to tell them that don't get scared. I am there with you. So this had happened because one of our old mates in the same group, Kalpi Gitanjali ji, if you remember, she used to come here, and one time she also told me. And then there was another girl who also came and told me, Madhuji, I was so scared and I really wanted to meditate, but I could not. Something was coming up. So I was standing in front of them, or being there in that room, same room with them, to tell them, go and meditate. I'm there. So what happens is my spiritual bodies, at whatever level I am at, and I'll go and help them. So this I did knew that my other spiritual bodies are doing this. Later, I came to know that I can actually go astrally without closing my eyes, and even I, I can, I don't know, I can time travel too. I don't know, but I think I do, and I don't know at this time. I cannot confirm it, but people have come and confirmed this to me that Madhuji, you have come and you have removed that negativity, and people have like, so I told Tripta ji, don't get worried. You were all good. Something was there maybe, and that is why I was there to help you out. So don't worry, all good. So many people have found that a lot of healing had come and a lot of good things are happening whenever they get connected to me. So that's what I know. I have been sent to transmute. That's why I do many a times I do violet flame energy meditation,
Yes.
and Archangel Michael stands besides me. Divine Masters stands besides me, especially Kali Ma, Ganesh Bhagwan Ji, Mahadev, Lord Vishnu, Krishna.
We're blessed. We are blessed. We know you. That's beautiful. Thank
I
you.
don't know, but thank you so much. So just clarifying, because some people they might get scared and fearful. So my point is, whenever you give into fear, you will become more fearful. Let us not become fearful, not at all. Always remember that you are fearless, courageous, you have lot of strength, and you are a powerful soul. किसी की कैसी मजाल की वो आ जाए, ऐसा होना चाहिए. Anyhow, thank you so much, everyone. So I believe now there are no questions anymore. Let's go into meditation. We have already used a lot of time today, but let's begin. Close your eyes, take your position, and sit cross-legged, masters. So, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. So as we go together in the Buddha way, by attaining this intelligence, attaining this wisdom, and following our dharma, following the right way of doing things, right way of understanding, right way of resolving things, right way to identify things, the right way to behave, the right way to act, the right way to speak, the right way to earn our livelihood. So everything in the right way, we attain the right way to liberation. We perfect ourselves. We let go of any impartialities, any impurities, and we find the path to liberation. We are also shown the path where we need to tread on. We should not go to the extremities of the good or bad, but to find the middle path. So as we breathe in and breathe out, masters, we have been taught to breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly, steadily. So as you Take your position, sit cross-legged, straighten up your spine, clasp your hands and keep them on your lap, masters. Close your eyes and breathe in. So every breath that comes into you, masters, it brings in with it lot of positivity. It brings in golden energy and it rejuvenates our body. It recharges our cells. And as we experience this incoming breath, this gives us lot of bliss, peace and happiness. And as you breathe out, you blow out your negativity. You blow out and cool yourself. You become more peaceful and you let go of any harm, any trauma, any pain, or any negativity. So with in-breath and out-breath, as I say these words, you are all in this timeless energy. The messages that you receive, or anybody hearing these messages at any time, they will attain these timeless messages and help themselves. Certain messages are timeless, that whenever you hear them, or if it is meant for you, it will come to you in front of you at any given point of time. When you need the most, the universe sends you those messages. It can be through any master. It can be through anything. It can be through word of mouth, through TV, radio, or songs, or people like me, you, or anybody else, or anybody that speaks something and you overhear. Why? Because that was a timeless message. It had to come to you. You were meant to take it, listen to it, hear it, or perceive it in any way or form. The point is that message might be given to you in the past. You forgot about it, but now somebody comes and spills the same words again in front of you, and you get the message. That was a timeless message. From the past to your present, it will help you go into your future. That was the propelling words, putting you into forward action. Your timeless messages can resonate with anything, anyone. But if it is meant for you, it will only come to you. If it is destined for you, no one can take it from you. If you are persistent enough, determined enough, you have the right way to do things. You become a Buddha. You go the Buddha way. With great wisdom, knowledge, comes responsibility and persistence. And you follow your dharma. So when you follow your dharma, when you are right, when you follow the path of truth and honesty, and you let go of any attachments, cravings, desires, or delusions, you follow the Buddha marg, the right way to live. And then comes your dharma. This is your dharma. That is why you were following. But it becomes more easy when you become one with your group, when you follow a group, when you come together with a group who follow the same way to live or same way to practice things. Then the unity of that group, the Sangha, brings lot of energy with it in the form of wisdom, consciousness. It also brings in a lot of Morality, the energy with it. The consciousness has energy as well. The morality, your body, your mind, your soul, everything that is here on planet Earth, everything is energy mass. It's not only here, but out there in the universe, multiverse. Everything is energy. Your body, your words, your mind, your thoughts, everything is energy. So use it in the right way. So take a deep in breath, masters, as you think about someone, as you think about something, you put energy towards it. You start creating that reality. As you put your mind towards someone, you start thinking negative or positive about someone, meaning you are giving energy to that person. Who are you giving energy to at this time? Your husband, your wife, your children, your enemies, your friends, or somewhere you really don't want to be mindful about it, masters. So bring your thoughts back to you. Bring your power back to you. How you are going to bring your power? By not thinking about them, by not thinking about the trauma, the bother, the pain, and coming back to be in the present, the right way to live, to come back in the present moment and not thinking about past, not thinking about future. So as you breathe in, masters, let go of your thoughts and just inhale deeply, exhale softly, and feel the bliss. Become one with everything. Every second is highly important. Take care of each and every breath. letting go of anything that you are holding back. Don't resist change. Some things are meant for you, which are good. Accepting them and not resisting them. Sometimes the opportunity comes and knocks on your door. The way or the things that you asked, they are given to you in the form of opportunity. But what do? You go into the same habits that you were performing earlier. You do the same habitual thing by giving in your power, by letting. Sometimes you have to take steps. Sometimes you have to get out of your own way. Sometimes you have to not let anyone take your power. So think, where are you letting go? What are you letting go? Was it important or it wasn't? Sometimes the crying or the tears that come out from your eyes can liberate you a lot. Wherever you were stuck, you become unstuck because the tears are now coming out. They gave way to your pain. So let out this pain. Let this pain out by letting go of those tears. Let them out. Release them. But maybe these tears will be the change that you need. It will help you unstuck your energy from the energy body. when we start meditating, when we go deeper and more deeper, we start finding answers to our questions. Clarity comes in masters. So breathe in deeply, masters. Take your time. Feel the blissful energies. As you go deeper and deeper, try not to move your body. Be steady and stable, masters. Inhale deeply and exhale softly. So as you breathe in, masters, as you take your time, go slow and steady with each and every breath. Every breath is highly important. Every breath puts you with a sense of peace and bliss. Every breath gives you and brings healing into your body. One breath at a time. when you go the Buddha way, when you follow your dharma, you find your own Sangha, to whom you belong, the soul tribe, with whom you vibe. Vibrations are matching, the way you think are matching, the way you live, the way you follow your dharma, the wisdom that you are receiving is all with your own very similar vibration. The things that you do becomes easy. You feel a sense of belonging. You find a way, your own way to proceed. My dear masters, now very slowly and steadily, let us all come back into our body consciousness. Take your time as you return. Give thanks to your body that you have got this perfect body with 2 legs, 2 hands, 1 beautiful face, a beautiful body with great figure. with great energy, a great mind with beautiful brain, with all the senses and ESPs attached to it. Let us be grateful to all the meditators who are present here with us, who are a part of this journey, sharing their precious time, space, and energy with each other. Really grateful to each and every one. Thank you to all the masters who are associated with Buddhism, with Buddhist teachings, with all the sutras, with all the sutras from the Lotus Sutra, Heart Sutra, Dharma Sutra, and all the canons. This comes under Pali Canon and many other things, masters. The Buddha way of living, the right way of living, right way of learning, following your Dharma and going the Buddha way with the help and association of your Sangha. So come back into your senses, come back into your body consciousness. Now you have known the 4 noble truths, the 8-fold path, which are very important to take you further on this journey to liberation and attain nirvana, become enlightened, achieve the perfect enlightenment with the 4 noble truths. So let us give thanks to the beautiful brain that helped you understand the consciousness that you achieved today, where you found yourself enlightened with this particular subject. You are not the same person anymore. Today, you have changed into something else. You have attained Buddhahood. One day, you will attain the Sattva. The way you act when you perform the Buddha way, when you perform and go Sangha. Go with your Sangha and do your Dharma. The goodness comes to you. That is your Tattva. The right way of doing things, the action that you took in the right way, getting the right karma after that, and attaining more wisdom, attaining Bodhisattva, becoming enlightened. So thanking ourselves, thanking everyone, every bit of our body has attained this wonderful light. Every cell in our body has become enlightened. Every cell now carries the light of this Buddhahood, this Sangha, which can help you follow your Dharma in the right way. To take a deep in-breath, masters, straighten up your spine, feel your toes and your hands. Whenever you feel comfortable and ready, masters, let us come back to this physical world, into this physical abode of yours. Masters, now let us unclasp our hands, masters. Take your position as you had earlier. Come back into your normal senses. Take a deep in-breath and clasp your hands and fingers and keep them on your eyes for 5 seconds, masters. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And very slowly, masters, whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes and open your eyes beneath your palms, masters, and let go of your hands. Thank you so much, everyone. Come back into your normal senses. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. You can hug yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Ursa. Thank you. Thank you, Pushpaji. Thank you. Anybody, if they wish to share their experience or anything that you want to ask or share, or something came to your mind, or how you felt, you can share, Masters. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Asha ji. Gratitude. Thank you, Naveen ji. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I went, Pushpaji is writing that I look pretty in red in this color. So actually, I went to temple today. It was Mother's Day, and because um, we wanted to do something, but we were busy, and not only busy, but people were coming and going. Uh, Friends were coming and wishing us happy Mother's Day, and so bringing flowers and all those things. And children, they baked a cake for me today. So they made my elder one, she can cook, right? She is now in 12th. She's a senior, and very soon, by June 1st week, the schools will be closing, and she would be out of the school then, because she is a senior 12th. Her 12th is done now. All the exams are done. So, so today, my younger one, she got up when I was freshening up and showering for my morning class. So, the Hindi class yesterday, basically. So what happened was, they found that mummy is missing. Let's do something. So they baked the cake for me. So chocolate cake they baked, and it was without egg. So, and but second most thing was that they also baked with Oreo cookie. So it is so sweet, crescent moon and back in silver color scene. Wow, wonderful. Yes, wonderful. So emotions, see that it actually portrays emotions. It also shows motherly energy. Okay. So anyhow, so they baked the cake, and then we were doing something the whole day, working on things. Then by evening again, one of the friends came with flowers, and then I thought of going to the temple today, because I wanted to go from this new year, just because I wanted to connect with that energy. So I went to the temple, and went with my daughters, both of my daughters. So me and my daughters were there only. And then we in our like, see, for many Indian people, they might not know, but here in US, every Indian temple, in that area, they have this mess area also, the food area where they sell Indian food. So that is without any garlic, basically. So there we had idli sambar, and and vada sambar. So we had our party there, me and my daughters, and then we came back. So rushing and coming back. So that's why during the start of my slide presentation today, I was a little off because I was there anyway. But thank you so much. So had, like, I wore that suit today for the temple. Anyway, Masters, it was really a lovely day with a lot of flowers in my hand today, with temple blessings and divine blessings. Got yellow flowers, yellow bananas, meaning yellow color. And in the morning, the experience that I wanted to share, it was Abhimanyuji's session today, right? So it does not happen that very often, but when I was meditating today, I saw at the start, I think yesterday, whose session was that? I don't know. Pushpa Ji's session. So I had some colorful colors coming into my third eye. Normally it is always violet and indigo, but today, so yesterday it was very colorful, just like rainbow. And today, when Abhimanyu ji was doing the meditation, so I had this yellow color continuously, in the center. So whenever I saw, it was like the dark color and then the yellow color in between. It was there for a long time. So I was like so happy to see that color, because there were so many things happening with my solar plexus chakra. many things were sent to me. So it was it was a very good sign that the masters were actually healing that. And so today, when I went there in the temple, just imagine, see, I don't know, I just felt like, so when you go into the temple, you basically get more energy, you become more energetic, all the negativity goes away, you feel like you become more strong, right? That happened. And then when you get prasad, the venerated food or anything that you get from the temple, uh, what has been offered. So I took banana from home to give it to the temple. So they gave me back. It was yellow, but the point is, I got yellow flowers. I was so happy. Wow, my favorite color is yellow as well, among pink and purple. But the point is, it was so nice. So it was a good day, connecting with the divine and ending the day with the divine, right? So thank you so much. Asha ji is looking at me like this, but it's I know she wants to speak something. If you want to, Asha ji, you can. I know you became more happy listening to me, right?
Yeah.
हाँ बोलिए बोला बोला ओ अनम्यूट
Anumandan Madhuji, yellow, yellow, happy fellow. Yeah. You are.
हम लोग बोलते ना येलो येलो डर्टी फेलो सो नो
Yes.
येलो येलो हैप्पी फेलो यस
Happy fellow.
वेरी नाइस येलो येलो हैप्पी फेलो आई एम अ वेरी बबली फेलो ऐसा बोलना चाहिए
You always look very pretty.
thank you so much so thank you Asha ji, thank you everyone
Gratitude,
Yeah.
gratitude.
So same way, I wanted to tell everyone that today, when I was talking about healing your diseases, masters. So when you are into your north node, okay, I really wanted to share before I end the session today. So whenever you are in your north node and you follow your soul purpose, you remove all your karmas, you burn your karmas, right? And when you are persistent, when you are determined and you work on yourself, what happens? You burn your karmas fast, meaning you let go of diseases, you let go of negativity, you let go of whatever is lower vibrational from your life. That means you will be healing yourself very quickly. So giving your time, energy to the spiritual work, if that is your north node, will help you. I knew about numbers, I knew about certain things, but I didn't knew that this was my north node. Just imagine. When I came to know, because I felt like doing it, because I felt it gave me peace, it gave me, happiness, it contented me, basically, satisfied me. The point is, I felt at peace with my own self. That this was what I used to think from my childhood, that my life should be like that, where I can give my services to the mankind for the upliftment of mankind. So when I started doing this, see, you must have all forgotten about your childhood dreams and desires. But at a certain time in your life, you might remember that this was your childhood dream. This was my childhood dream. If this is my childhood dream, there are many more dreams to be manifested. But this is one of my childhood dream. This is my north node. So the point is, as soon as I came into this, the negative and positive, whatever I have thought, started manifesting in my life. But moreover, I understood that if I think negative, I'll manifest negative. If I think positive, I'm going to manifest positive. I manifested positive because the more of the time I was only thinking positive. After I learned that my negative thinking puts negative reality in front of me. So this is a very beautiful example, masters, because I've lived this kind of life. So I know what your mind can do. So be careful and live a loving, healthy, bubbly life. Okay? Because when the lessons are learned in a hard way, you won't go to those difficult things back, because you know what it called or what it did to you, your life, right? So better that you change your path, you change the way you live, you change the way you perceive things, and you change the things that you don't like in your life, and take a stand, right? It is difficult, I know, it is not easy, but do it for yourself, because this is your life, masters, because I've got this one life in this form. So how about living my life to the fullest, right? So think about it. So thank you so much, everyone. Oh, take care, everyone. Enjoy your life, enjoy yourself. Enjoy every moment on your life because you are made to live in a happy way. Live life king size, right? Anyhow, take care, masters. Have a good night. May we all be happy, healthy, and vibrant. May we all be joyful, prosperous, and may we meditate regularly with our individual self, with our group energies, with the Sangha. And let us teach meditation to everyone, awaken everyone, and do our much needed inner work every day. Thank you so much. Have a good night, masters, or have a good day. Thank you. Stay blessed and stay happy, masters. Thank you. Stay vibrant.